Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. It is Tuesday, isn't it? It is Tuesday. It is so exciting. Today's a great day. RFK is through. There's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, especially in the first half. And I'd just like to let everybody know, I fixed the sound issue. From yesterday. Clips were playing really low yesterday, super duper low. So it was a little bit of an issue for people to hear. All fixed. We will get there, I promise. How many of you guys have had an absolutely chaotic Tuesday? I will raise my hand. How about you? I had so much fun yesterday with everyone. Who's in the chat? Oh, Hammer of Justice is here. Ronan's here. We have Will Diaz, the famous or infamous, however you want to say it. Future Folk, Lake Wanderer. Hello, everyone. Let me pin this up on my X profile. We're live on Getter. We're live on Rumble. We're live on X. And we are actually also available live at audio-only podcast platforms, SoundCloud, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio. It might take, the stream's live there. It might take a couple days for other aggregators to start picking up the show. But be that as it may, we're getting there, slowly but surely. Hopefully little tech things are out of the way and we can do some great stuff together. So we're going to start off with some news. We're going to be informed, not afraid. Although, with the news is the way it is, the news being the way it is, it's kind of hard to be afraid of anything. Just in, White House is preparing an executive order to abolish the Federal Department of Education. Now, I'm not going to say this upsets me at all. I'm actually very excited about it. I feel like everything that I was fighting for back in like the mid 2000s is coming to fruition 20 something years later. I was talking with a friend of mine earlier about Ron Paul and how everything that Ron Paul wanted to do was happening under a Trump presidency. And I'll remember at CPAC in 2012, Trump came up on stage and said, Ron Paul's a great guy. He's got a lot of great ideas, but he'll never win. And we hated him for it. But Tom Q Cat strolls in late. Cats don't wear watches. He says cats don't wear watches. Cats, not only do they not wear watches, they don't listen to anybody, and we just accept it. Having a cat is like having a belligerent teenager that you love so much you can't even tell them, don't do that. Who's in charge, really, is my question. It's the cats. The cats are in charge, always. Can ask anyone. So, let's see what happens to the Department of Education. This has been something. This has been a wild ride. I came across this clip as I was perusing through today, and I'm going to get into a whole bunch of health stuff for you guys in a second. But I wanted to play this because I have a lot of things to say about it. Now, I'm probably going to stop and interrupt it. But we'll see. Here we go.
You want to get rid of illegal immigrants, quit eating. And that's for everybody. That's, nationwide. If you want to get rid of them, quit eating.
Now, this sound is not my fault. This is his fault. You want to get rid of illegal immigrants, quit eating. He said, quit eating.
That'll solve the problem.
But when only 5 pickers showed up this morning to harvest his sweet potatoes, farmer Keith Smith saw possible ruin.
Okay. Maybe we should start, and this is going to be a theme, guys. Farmer man, sir, stop eating your own crops. Get in shape. Get healthy. Hire American workers. Can we dispense with the notion that no American would ever be caught dead in a farm or on a roof? Like, have we just become a nation of people that don't want to put in any work?
The loss of his $500,000 crop.
His $500,000 crop is in jeopardy because he doesn't hire American workers to pull things from his fields.
Here because of this new law.
And you're in trouble.
I'm in trouble, bad trouble.
Smith's 200 acres need 20 pickers, mostly Mexican nationals.
There is not enough documented people here to supply that workforce.
Most of your workers are here illegally.
That's sure. If they got documentation, they got a better job than working for me.
Fernando Aldeman, a Mexican national, has worked Smith's farm since 1992.
1992. I did some quick math. That's 33 years that this picker, who's worked this farm for this American farmer, has been here without becoming an American citizen. They use that as some sort of, oh, look, we're kicking out all the people who have been here for so long. They're a part of the country. Then 33 years, 3 decades, 3/4 of my life, you have been living in this, since I was 12, you've been living in this country without becoming a citizen. And now you're going to be like, oh, poor, no, enough is enough. Listen.
Everybody's just scared.
Yeah.
Now, are you here legally? No.
No.
So, are you scared?
Yeah, I'm scared. I'm scared, you know.
Smith's pickers make about $100 a day. He supports immigration laws, just not this one that threatens his third-generation family.
He supports immigration laws, but not the law that is going to make it so that illegals can't work for $2,000 a month doing the labor that those people are doing. I don't buy sweet potatoes because they're bad for you. They're bad for you. So I don't eat them and I don't buy them because they're not good for you. They create the farmer that we just saw who watches all of these people. He's basically enslaving for lower than minimum wage. Do the job to pick these yams because he won't hire American workers. I don't have sympathy. I don't have. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. I just, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? Hire American people to pick the crops. We're not incapable of it. I'm sure there are many people, you'd have to pay them a living wage. You can't just take advantage of them. I don't really know. Somebody's asking, Jersey Girl in the chat is saying, a Mexican national, what is that? Are there workers who come for the seasonal work and live in Mexico? I'm just asking. I don't know. Let's take a gander together, shall we? What is a Mexican national? A person born in Mexico, a person born in another country with a Mexican father or mother, a foreign woman or man who marries a Mexican and lives in Mexico, a foreigner who becomes a naturalized citizen in Mexico. In general terms, Mexican nationality is based on the principle birthright citizenship. Okay. So an illegal. So I just wanted to play that for you because this is not, I am the most empathetic person on the planet, guys. This is not swaying me. I'm not swayed. I'm sorry. You've been here, that one guy at least has been here 33 years and couldn't find a way to become a citizen of the country that he calls home. And that to me is inexcusable. I wouldn't go and live in another country for 3 decades and not become a citizen of the country. And that's okay. But you can't stay. Sorry. Now, RFK Jr. RFK Jr. Here we go.
There is a second. The clerk will call the roll. Mr. Grassley. Aye. Mr. Grassley, aye. Mr. Cornyn. Aye. Mr. Cornyn, aye. Mr. Thune. Aye. Mr. Thune, aye. Mr. Scott. Aye. Mr. Scott, aye. Mr. Cassidy. Aye. Mr. Cassidy, aye. Mr. Langford. Aye. Mr. Langford, aye. Mr. Daines. Aye. Mr. Daines, aye. Mr. Young. Aye. Mr. Young, aye. Mr. Barrasso. Aye. Mr. Barrasso, aye. Mr. Johnson. Aye. Mr. Johnson, aye. Mr. Tillis. Aye. Mr. Tillis, aye. Mrs. Blackburn. Mrs. Blackburn, aye. Mr. Marshall. Aye. Mr. Marshall, aye. Mr. Wyden.
No.
Mr. Wyden, no. Ms. Cantwell. No. Ms. Cantwell, no. Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, no. Mr. Warner. Mr. Warner, no. Mr. Whitehouse. Mr. Whitehouse, no. Ms. Hassan. Ms. Hassan, no. Ms. Cortez Masto? Ms. Cortez Masto, no. Ms. Warren? No. Ms. Warren, no. Mr. Sanders? No. Mr. Sanders, no. Ms. Smith? No. Ms. Smith, no. Mr. Lujan? No. Mr. Lujan, no. Mr. Warnock?
No.
Mr. Warnock, no. Mr. Welch? No. Mr. Welch, no. Mr. Chairman? Chairman votes aye.
And through he goes with a recommendation for full confirmation over in the Senate. And he'll get it. But the thing that gets me is, listen to this. Here is this guy, Wyden, the guy who spewed out more okay, let me just tell you a story. Personal story time. I went down to DC, or up to DC for the hearing. And you know, I let the other folks try and get in the room and stand in the halls, and there was a watch party I went to elsewhere. And I was sitting there in an auditorium watching this confirmation hearing. And typically, when I watch these hearings, if I'm not streaming them, I am shutting them off every time a Democrat starts to speak, because it puts me in a place I don't want to be. I still allow myself somehow to get frustrated by the lies. Need to work on it. Not a good way to be. Not a good way to allow another person to gain power over your emotions and put you in a place of anger. It's something that we all need to pay attention to, myself included, but it happens. So I'm listening to Wyden in particular spew off his nonsense, and I'm getting more and more fear to the point where, like, I'm in this crowded hall and I just couldn't contain myself, like blurting out, "What?" Everyone was laughing because, I don't know, I guess I say the things that people are thinking but are too smart to say out loud. But listen to this. Listen to this. I'm going to pull up.
Fight is not over. You can continue this on the floor of the Senate, and I'm going to pull out all the stops because I continue to believe, I've been in public service a while, this is the most unqualified, unprepared nominee I have seen in my time in public service.
He is the most qualified, most prepared nominee for Health and Human Services that we have ever had. Literally ever. Ever.
And I'm going to pull out all the stops on the floor to fight it.
Can you also say? So of course you heard Senator.
He's going to pull out all the stops to fight it. And then there was this. This really, really got me. Okay, this is Elizabeth Warren. Now, if you'll remember, there was a line of questioning between her and RFK where she was saying, "You're making money off of lawsuits against vaccine companies, and if the lawsuits are successful, you get a portion of whatever proceeds." And he was saying that's not true. It's not, and not only that, not only is it not true, but I have stepped away from all of that. When you go into the government, you need to cut ties with all your, you don't make any money elsewhere. Your companies don't make, you can't be in a company, you can't be in an organization. You have to sever all that. You have to be bound by a certain set of ethical standards that are for every government employee. Let's not get into all the government employees that don't do that, okay? Let's not get into all the federal workers who have more than one job, who are working a federal job and another job. You can't do that. Let's not get into all of that, guys. Let's talk about Elizabeth Warren hammering RFK about this lawsuit thing. And RFK is basically saying, you're asking me not to sue vaccine companies and pharmaceutical companies, and I will not say that I'm not going to do no. Like, the entire point of this is the fact that these companies get away with murder, specifically when it comes to the vaccine schedule. And I know that a lot of you guys out there have felt, or some of you anyway, in the MAHA arena have felt as though there hasn't been enough focus on the COVID shot. I disagree. Or that it's been forgotten. I disagree. The childhood vaccine schedule, again, is something that I've been railing against since 2006, the latest, okay? I've been saying it for decades. It's been something I've been pounding on because, as we all know, these vaccine companies were granted liability, or these pharmaceutical companies were granted liability for their vaccines because their vaccines were injuring people. They were getting sued, and they were pulling out of the vaccine space because the juice wasn't worth the squeeze for them. They had a product that was harming American children to the point where lawsuits were coming fast and furious because the product is unsafe and not good for any human being, let alone a 2-day-old baby. And they were like, we can't afford to keep being sued like this because we're losing the lawsuits because the lawsuits were valid. So government, if you don't do something, we're going to not make vaccines anymore. So what happened? They started the immunity for pharmaceutical companies producing these vaccines. I want you to listen to what Elizabeth Warren said today.
Stated, this is not only about a private company that gets sued and has to pay out. Vaccine manufacturers often operate on very slim profit margins. If they get sued repeatedly and successfully, they simply move out of the vaccine space. We've already seen this happen with vaccines in the past. 20 years ago, we watched vaccines just move away if they did not have protection from these kinds of lawsuits. The consequence of Mr. Kennedy's ability to make those lawsuits easier is also the ability to shut down access and manufacturing for vaccines for every one of us. And I think that's a terrible state.
I say good. I say good. These things, look, this is the deal. And this is my view, and this is the view of everybody that I've talked to, and this is a view of RFK, and this is a view of ICANN. Informed consent. Let's get the real information about these things out to the public so they can make an informed decision about what they are injecting into the bodies of their children and themselves. Give people the information they need. Let them make the decision. If they think the risk is worth the reward, then you should have no problem. If these vaccines go through actual placebo-controlled trials and are found to be safe, no American in the United States will say, you know what? I'm not getting them. Or maybe they will, but most will get the vaccine. If they're safe and effective, most people will get them. The only way that they've been able to do this is through force. Through force and coercion. And truthfully, there are ways around this, but the popular lexicon until very recently has been, or the popular sentiment has been, vaccines are important. They're the biggest discovery ever. They're the most scientific thing that's ever come along. They're so safe for humanity. We all need to go out and get our vaccines. I see it even among people who should know the polio vaccine, this vaccine. I see it among people who should know better because it's been drilled into their heads. If without the polio vaccine, without the measles vaccine, you saw it in the hearings. Without the measles vaccine, so many people would have died. You have no idea, and you don't know what's in that measles vaccine that's causing all of these chronic health conditions that we're trying to now retroactively fix, which is the whole reason why my entire mantra is what you put in your mouth heals your body. When you heal your body, you heal your mind. When you heal your mind, you heal your spirit. And then you don't want vaccines anymore. You want to know why? Because you're not afraid. Your immune system is kicking ass. You're not afraid. And you can fight off whatever germ comes your way. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. The thing about it is, babies are born with this beautiful immune system from God. Beautiful immune system from God. Creator of all things created this amazing human body that functions in ways that we still don't even really quite understand. So miraculously communicating parts and pieces and cells and all of it. And then you come along, human being, and say, I know better. You need this mercury-filled, aluminum-filled, adjuvant-filled shot in your baby when they're a day old to protect you against a disease you get from IV drug use. Make it make sense. Make it make sense to me. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's been through coercion. Now imagine you have a child born, you're a smart parent who's healthy in mind, body, and spirit, and you say, I actually am going to feed my child pure food. I'm not going to feed it baby formula full of chemicals. I'm going to make my own formula. I'm going to, breastfeed, and I'm healthy and I'm feeding myself in a sustainable way and I'm giving myself the nutrients I need. You feed your baby the diet that they need. That child grows up without preservatives, without the chemicals and glyphosate and GMO formula. When I hosted the High Wire for Dell the week that there was that assassination attempt at Donald Trump, I interviewed Zen Honeycutt from Moms Across America about their findings in baby food. If you have not seen that, go see it. Now, I personally advocate for the carnivore lifestyle. It's exactly what we're supposed to eat in the exact way we're supposed to eat it, in my humble opinion. Not everybody agrees with that. But these are the things that we're supposed to be eating as human beings. That child's going to grow up healthy AF. They're not going to have to worry about anything. Will they get sick? Sure. Every once in a blue. But they're not going to have chronic illness, autoimmune conditions, autism, all the things that these Democrats have been railing against on these committees. Some Republicans have been railing against on these committees. Like, it's so dangerous. If we don't shoot our kids up with 76 shots by the time they're 12, we're going to lose humanity as a whole. Well, let me ask you a question, guys. Have you checked the statistics on what this country has been dealing with in terms of chronic illness and comorbid conditions, for like how many chronic illnesses Americans have all at one time? I think it's something like, I don't even remember the percentage, some giant percentage of Americans are chronically ill with more than one chronic illness, at least two or more. And so Elizabeth Warren's little spiel here really drove me nuts. And Nicole Shanahan, now these are a bunch of just recently released studies. Nicole Shanahan had this to say yesterday on Dave Smith.
Yeah. And the peer review papers that are coming out about vaccine injury, I mean, they were already coming out at an increased rate over the last year. And we're going to see a lot more. I just got sent this past week 2 studies from 2015 that couldn't get published for fear of all kinds of retribution. And really these studies show conclusively that there are measurable differences in the blood of children before receiving the vaccine and after. And it is, these vaccines impact the immune systems of children in really significant ways. And I think for the first time, people that have been at this for decades have real hope. And we're going to see some of the information that's been hidden from us. I mean, this is just, honestly, it's truly just the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to learn. It's tough because I get sent this stuff and people are like, you know, is it time to publish it? And I'm like, we're close. We're really, really close. Bobby's confirmation is going to be that moment, that signal that all of this stuff can start coming forward without fear.
The fact that she just said that kind of makes me sick. People have been holding back studies for fear of reprisal that show that our future generation, the generation that's going to carry things forward in this country, is being harmed. That's all about to change, which is why you saw all of what you just saw. I want to go through some of these numbers with you guys right now. It's pretty crazy. 4 vaccinated versus unvaccinated studies demonstrate consistent links between vaccination and increased risks of autism, ADHD, chronic infections, asthma, severe allergies, and gastrointestinal disorders. So we're not talking, it's okay. Not only are these shots screwing with the normal things that you hear about, but all of this, it's so important to understand your gut health is the key to so much wellness in your body, your gut microbiome. What is going on in your intestines and your stomach contributes so much to every other system. Like I said, God created this beautiful, magnificent creation that works so amazingly, and then we start throwing poison into it. And I mean, in terms of the food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we drink, we can mitigate these things. We have a choice of what we pick up and put in our mouths. Start there, just saying. But let's stop injecting our kids with this stuff, because it screws up every system in the body that we're counting on to keep us healthy. Like, that's what does it. And it has a large correlation with okay, just for an example, not exactly related, but sort of, whenever an elderly person gets a urinary tract infection, what happens to them mentally? I'll just leave it there. So we've got all of this stuff going on. So let's keep going. Autism spectrum disorder. This is one that has been railed against, and RFK is just saying, let's get proper data. Increase of 320% against the unvaccinated. Gosh, it's 170% difference. ADHD, let's see, OR 20.8. So you're looking at it, it's such a huge disparity between kids, unvaccinated kids and vaccinated kids. I'm going to put this in the show notes today so you guys can take a look. Allergic rhinitis, allergies, ADSD, ASD, eczema, learning disability, neurodevelopmental disorder, any chronic condition. You can see the ratio difference, and it's something. It's something. And we've known this for quite some time. We can change all of this. We can change all of this in one generation. We can fix this country in one generation if we can make our kids healthy. One generation. It used to be, it's going to take 6 generations to undo. No. One generation, which is why I am so vociferously discussing this with you guys every day, because all of you are grandmas and grandpas and moms and dads, just like I am. I'm not a grandma yet, thankfully, but you can see it. And one more thing I want to talk about before I throw out the link for you guys to join and discuss with me on With Beans is this. Well, there's 2 more. This is ICANN. ICANN is the not-for-profit run by Del Bigtree and team over there, the Highwire, etc. They commissioned this. None of the vaccine doses the CDC recommends, or recommended, I'll say, for routine injection into children were licensed by the FDA based on a long-term placebo-controlled trial. None. 0. Not one childhood vaccine recommended by the CDC has ever undergone a long-term placebo-controlled trial. Not one. That should be all you need. If you are going to buy a car seat or a car or a computer or gutters for your house or anything, pet food, you do research on it. People all over the world just go about their day, have their kids shot up with things that have not been tested against a placebo to know what the hell goes on with them. Think about that. If you guys are having a fun time today on the show and you're learning something, hit the thumbs up button, share it with your friends, repost it on X, share it on Getter, repost the Rumble. Help me out here, guys. There's one, I'm running a little late here. There's 2 clips that I need to get to for you today. One of them is another clip from Nicole, and she's questioning, look, back in 2016 when the WikiLeaks emails came out, I was one of the few journalists that were going over why those were important. I did a video on every single WikiLeaks email there was, every one of them. And a large percentage of the people that were looking at my work were Bernie Sanders supporters, because Bernie Sanders was cheated out of the nomination in 2016. He copied our Ron Paul Revolution logo, okay? He copied all that. But anyway, what I have found, and you can come at me if you want to, and what we're seeing here with Nicole Shanahan and others, is that progressives and Bernie supporters, for the 99.9% of them, were caring, loving, amazing people who cared about others and just wanted the country to be better for everybody. They had a different way of going about it, more government versus less government, and I think a lot of them have changed their minds about that now, at least the smart ones. But it blows my mind. Bernie sold out hard. Ron Paul left politics. Bernie Sanders sold his people down the river for houses, Mr. Socialist, for houses and perks. And it blows my mind that these folks are just figuring this out now. Here.
You know, Bernie did it again with RFK's confirmation. If you rewind about 4 months ago, he starts coming on the scene as being this pro-health, make America healthy again guy. And we even thought, I was like, oh, is Bernie joining our team? And it's like, there's a part of us that wants to believe that Bernie is actually the guy that we held him out to be in 2016. And the reality is I think this is the final straw that broke the Bernie back. I think if anyone had any bit of hope at all that he was the guy that we once thought he was, that hope is gone. He did it. He baited us again. He said, okay, well, yeah, we have this horrible health crisis in America. We've got to investigate it. And he baited us back in. He got the airtime. He got our community looking back at him and being like, are you going to step in and be a hero here? And then as he baited people in, he then holds that conference, the vaccine safety conference, where he only brings in like folks like Offit and individuals who are maximalist vaccine, toe the party line types. He doesn't bring in any of the, at this point, you could throw a rock out your back door and hit someone who's been vaccine injured. I mean, that's how many people are affected. He could have brought in any one of those individuals to come and tell their story, but he doesn't. He's keeping that population silent. And we're giving up. I'm officially giving up hope that Bernie is nothing other than just a big pharma shill.
I'm so glad you've caught up. Like, I am so glad. Like, this is, it's ridiculous. It's insane. And of course, the, what I'm about to show you here before I drop the link for you guys to join in and have a conversation with me about this is, The View, and Bill Gates is on The View. And I just want you to remember who Bill Gates is. And why is Bill Gates, you'll see. Here we go. The View, mind you.
Mr. Gates, you also called Elon Musk's political influence abroad, quote, insane along.
He called Elon Musk's political influence abroad insane. This guy, the guy who is responsible for the largest vaccine push overseas in history, his influence is...
along with another word we can't repeat here. But what's your take on his political access and influence here in America right now?
Well, Elon, his private sector work, has been very innovative, really fantastic. A lot of private sector people, when they get into government, they don't take the time necessarily to see what the good work is or why it's structured the way it is. So I'm a little worried, particularly with this USAID stuff. My foundation partners with USAID on nutrition and getting vaccines out. And, there's incredible people. They're not actually worms that work there.
I just wanted to stop it right there on this for you so you can see the Joker. I want you to see the joke. I want you to look at the Joker. They're not worms. Listen, guys, like we talked about yesterday, USAID is not aid. It's not like supposed to be humanitarian aid that goes out around the world. No. Thank you. This is just telling. This look is so telling.
So, hopefully we'll get some of that work back in shape. In fact, if we don't, you could have literally millions of deaths. So
now he's saying that because we're auditing the waste, fraud, and abuse in a government bureaucracy gone wild, which I have a clip of Rubio talking about that, if we can get to it, millions of people could die. Millions upon millions. It could be untold catastrophe. I beg to differ. This is the thing I want to keep stressing again. Guys, It is all on us. It is literally on you. Take radical personal responsibility for your health, because when you do, look, do you see how health is interwoven into literally everything? People are sick. They clamor for someone else to come in and save them. Then we get nation building and DEI and freaking, the whole trans issue. All of it. It's the trans issue is a mental issue. Let me explain. These people want to love themselves and don't. They think if they change their gender, they'll love themselves. It's here and here. So they go out to the pharmaceutical industry. It's a wheel. It's a wheel. You take radical personal responsibility over your health. Start healing yourself. Start with yourself. Heal yourself. Heal the world. Heal yourself. Heal the world. It's a ripple in a pond. Once you start with that pep in your step, you're going to see everybody's going to go, wow, what are you doing? Oh my gosh, you look fantastic. Wow, you're glowing. I promise you. So let me see if I can set this up the right way today. Bear with me a moment. We can try and not have penises on the screen today, like we did yesterday. Hold on. Here is, somebody said in the chat, they are missing their connection to our creator. Yes, sir. 100% yes. I have pinned the link to the Zoom in the chat on Rumble. It is going to be on X and Getter in just a second because my trusty Sharon is going to be doing it for me. And you guys can join in the conversation here, and I have it all set up so we can see your beautiful faces today. It's all connected. All of it is. Every last bit of it. And so when you have a healthy group of citizens walking around on this planet, not beholden to big pharma, not beholden to someone else to come save them, connected to their God again, loving their lives again, loving people again, loving themselves again, understanding their worth again. A lot of people go around every day and they talk to themselves worse than they would talk to, they would never talk to a friend the way they talk about themselves in their heads every single day. These are the things that we need to fix. So with that being said, I just want to run over here to this Marco Rubio clip and play this for you. Listen to what he says here.
You're now the head of USAID. The head of Doge, Elon Musk, called USAID a criminal organization and added that it is time for it to die. Do you agree with that?
They have basically evolved into an agency that believes that they're not even a U.S. government agency, that they are a global charity, that they take the taxpayer money and they spend it as a global charity, irrespective of whether it is in the national interest or not in the national interest. One of the most common complaints you will get if you go to embassies around the world from State Department officials and ambassadors and the like is USAID is not only not cooperative, they undermine the work that we're doing in that country. They are supporting programs that upset the host government for whom we're trying to work with on a broader scale and so forth. So they're completely unresponsive. They just don't consider that they work for the U.S. They just think they're a global entity and that their master is the globe and not the United States. And that's not what the statute says, and that's not sustainable.
Can it be reformed, or does it need to die?
Well, that was always the goal, was to reform it. But now we have rank insubordination. Now we have basically an active effort where their basic attitude is, we don't work for anyone. We work for ourselves. No agency of government can tell us what to do. So the president made me the acting administrator. I've delegated that power to someone who's there full time, and we're going to go through the same process at USAID as we're going through now at the State Department. I think there are some, this is not about getting rid of foreign aid. There are things that we do through USAID that we should continue to do that makes sense. And we'll have to decide, is that better through the State Department, or is that better through something, a reformed USAID? That's the process we're working through. There are things that are happening at USAID that we should not be involved in funding, or that we have a lot of questions about. But they're completely uncooperative. So we had no choice but to take dramatic steps to bring this thing under control.
Do you think that we'll...
Listen to that. They wouldn't cooperate at all. So Marco Rubio had no choice but to actually come in and say, all right, well, you guys don't want to cooperate. You don't want to give us the keys to the castle. You don't want to do it. Okay, fine. You're shut down. There was a shot I found on, quickly, in the chat right now. Tom QCat and D Scatina are talking about my face when the penis screen came up in my chat yesterday, because I've opened up, in case you don't know, those of you who wish to join me for a conversation right now can do so by clicking on the pinned message in the chat. And anybody can come in. And it was like a rather innocuous name, like Sarah H or something like that. And I'm like, okay, but I'm screening live. I knew that this was going to happen, okay? I knew this was going to happen when I did this, but I didn't expect it the first day. So I see a bunch of, not only was there screeching noises, but there was a screen full of male genitalia. I am not keen on that stuff, but apparently it showed on my face just a little that Dave picked up on. But Tomcat, who likes to be late because he's a cat, decided that I had a little blush on my face. I don't know. Whatever it was, I was frantic more about the sound than it was about the penises gracing the Zoom screen, okay? So I never thought that I would be cheerleading Marco Rubio either. But how do you not cheerlead that answer? They just shut it down. The USAID was like, nah, I don't think we're going to do any of the stuff that you want us to do. And they were like, okay, bloop, see you later. And Alexander Vindman was outside of that office today trying to get in. But like somebody in the chat just said this, and I want to go back to it real quick. Somebody in the chat just said, heard about a group of trans people who are killing a bunch of people, serial killers, basically. Guys, when one of the most, believe it or not, one of the most shocking, life-changing stories I covered in my journalism days past was the story about the U.S. government paying for trans surgeries in the military. And it wasn't because I was infuriated that the military, the government was paying for the stuff. I was. But what I had to do to adequately prepare for that piece was research what the recovery time actually really is for these surgeries, and I did. And what I found throughout watching all of these people who were documenting their journeys on social media was people who are so disconnected from the truth of who they really are, so lost, so sad, so cast aside, so forgotten by themselves. And it changed. I said, we can judge and be angry at these people until the cows come home, but they want joy and happiness and love so badly, and they don't know how to find it. That's what we need to focus on. Again, all the way back to the beginning. That's what we need to focus on. Helping these people to realize where they need healing. But it is a vicious circle. Somebody in the chat is asking if this is the brother of the Vindman. It is the Vindman who tried to bring Trump down. They are twin brothers. If I'm not mistaken, one of them was elected to Congress. Yeah, Alexander Vindman was in the Ukrainian military, if I'm not mistaken. This is all stuff from years and years ago, but yeah. So, again, that trans story that I covered really, really affected me in a way that most people don't expect that it would. And I know it's hard for people to wrap their heads around the fact that these people are just so disconnected from themselves and what they, we have this beautiful light inside of us that is connected to God. And sometimes we allow that to be severed by what we put in our bodies, by actions that we take, and reconnecting to that and finding that again is really the key to everything. And so MAHA is more than just a make America healthy again because we're not going to have red dye 40 in our food. It's a culmination of decades worth of understanding that we are at our greatest when we are healthy as a species and otherwise. We really are. Again, I have done this for quite some time now in every imaginable way possible at a grassroots level. And after all this time, it finally started clicking for me. It doesn't matter who you vote into office if your discernment when choosing is such that you're apathetic. It doesn't matter who you vote into office if you are going to remain apathetic because you have no energy or because you don't care or because you're too busy working 80 hours, 90 hours, 100 hours a week because the cost of things is so high. If we can fix the kids, we can change the entire country in one generation. I wonder what the guys doing the work for Doge did as children, if they were homeschooled. I'm so curious about it. The geniuses that Elon Musk has running things. Somebody in the chat also said that we need to get back to naturopaths. 100% yes. There is a place for modern medicine, but what I've found is, truthfully, a lot of the modern medicine that we consume is natural in origin. So, like, ivermectin, mushrooms, hydroxychloroquine, fruit peel skins, all of this stuff. Like, there's many medicines that are natural from the earth, which we, should focus more on. We should really focus more on that stuff. And the doctors and the functional health specialists out there who are really looking for root cause, healing and illness, etc., to fix things for real. Like, why is this happening? You might have a symptom of my ear hurts for 6 months. And they give you some pain reliever to fix your ear pain, but they don't actually figure out why your ear is hurting. Like, if you had a leak somewhere, would you just turn the water off, or would you actually want to find the leak and actually fix it, I advocate for root cause healing. Okay, let's go back to our clips here. There's a warning about, actually, let me see. What do I want to do? Let's do this. Let's end with this today. This is Van Jones. People are finally, he's gotten it for a long while, but I think that people are starting to come around a little bit more and understand this. And I think this is a very interesting clip. Here we go.
How the hell did Donald Trump figure out the mainstream media is the fringe and the fringe is now the mainstream? How the hell did Donald Trump figure out? I mean, Joe Rogan is obvious, right? Like, we knew the guy had a big audience. It's not like we were stunned, but how the hell was he, the 78-year-old guy who doesn't even have a computer and still writes handwritten notes? How did he become the guy who cracked the code on, to your point, running a cultural, I don't even want to say campaign, running
it was a movement.
Heading a cultural movement versus a campaign.
Every one of your people knows Elon. Listen. So everybody keeps, the problem is you have a framework in your mind that, how can Donald Trump? Guys, can we cut it out? Donald Trump is not an idiot. Donald Trump, let me just be very clear. Donald Trump is smarter than me, you, and all critics. You know why we know? Because he has the White House, the Senate, the House.
Totally agree.
The popular vote. He has a massive media ecosystem bigger than the mainstream built around him and for him, and a religious fervor in a political movement around him. And his best buddy is the richest person in the history of the world, and the most relevant Kennedy is with him. This dude is a phenomenon. He is the most powerful human on earth and in our lifetime, and we're still saying, well, how was this guy? We look like idiots to ordinary.
Yeah, you do. There's a red lipstick trend going on where everybody's wearing red lipstick to like show that they're a part of the resistance against sanity. So if you see a woman walking around with red lipstick on, somebody in the chat says, Nana, thank you for the super chat, by the way. Tracy, get Nicole Appelane on your podcast. She is offering naturopathy. Is that how you say it? Naturopathy courses that are so user-friendly. She was on Alone and is a doctor of biology. I would be happy to have her on. As a matter of fact, I have a list of people that I'm going to start having on in the next couple weeks. I have a neuroscientist coming on. I have a neuroscientist I'm going to have come on. I'm going to have a spiritual dude come on. I have a UFO dude to come on. Let's get some docs on, naturopathic doctors. Let's get them. Send me any suggestions you have with Beanz, BEANZ @gmail.com, with Beanz@gmail.com. Send along. This is our show. It's not my show. It's our show. The dentist will be back. Don't worry, Gigi. Mondays, the dentist will be back. He said he's going to come back every Monday. We can talk to him. I've been talking to him for a long time now. So, guys, Tuesday show is pretty much over now. And we're gonna go into Wednesday with so much more stuff to go over. Send suggestions, send comments, find the show audio only and share it with your friends and tell them to find it. Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcast, Google will have it soon as well. And then share the video out with everybody too. And if you want to support us, uncoverdc.com/support, uncoverdc.com/support. Tomorrow, when I turn my chat on, I want all of you to grow a set and join me. Be with me. Otherwise, I named my show with Beans for no reason. So I'm scolding all of you chickens in the audience to get with the program and join the Zoom so that we can have a conversation about like literally anything you want. It's a free-for-all. It's just a giant free-for-all, okay? So, I'm just saying. That's what I would like to see. I would like all of you guys to come on the show, hang out with me, and do that thing. I'm looking for something. I will see you tomorrow.